Hey friends, Kelly here. Welcome back to my channel. So this video is actually a continuation of a previous video that I had done. It just got way too lengthy, so I did some editing and made it into two parts. So this is all about junk journaling, and I'm going to do a little chit-chatting and sharing some resources and just kind of do a flip through. So this is a part 2 of a previous video where I also was showing my Camp Wonder book and my latest update. So I will link that video for you here if you want to go back and check that out if you haven't already seen it. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the junk journaling video. Okay, so I got a whole lot going on here, so let me dive in here. So what I have, that's kind of spurring all this, is a junk journal that I have been working on for the month of September, doing Camp Reset. Camp Reset is super awesome. It's put on by the Reset Girl, which is actually, I think, getting a bit of a rebranding, but Corey Speaker puts on this camp. And so this year's theme was really fun. We did these little mini-me dolls, which I have a couple here. We made little mini-me's and took them out on adventures, photographed them, and then the intention was to make a little junk journal to document them. So like I have some photos of my mini-me's. So I've been working on that. So I'll just do a quick little flip through of this. My title page here with my little girls. Most of this book is actually just playtime, which I've really been into, as you can tell with my Camp Wonder book. So this is really just a random collection of just stuff, just whatever, each page was kind of its own thing. I just individually decided to just throw this together. So it's got all kinds of just interesting bits in it. So I've got some old envelopes, little pocket pages. This was an envelope I thought I was going to use for my Camp Wonder book. I've repurposed it here. I'm going to do some listing, put some stuff in here about books, and just some, this is actually a piece of junk mail that I have repurposed. Just all kinds of fun little bits here, little pockets, just super random stuff. And I know a lot of junk journals that you can see are like filled and pasted and all kinds of stuff. That's not my style. This is more my style, like kind of simple, a couple items on a page. Sometimes I might go a little bit more into the clustering and embellishing, but I like interactive things. So there's a little bag here, there's another one here. I'm not sure these two will live next to each other, actually, now that I see the bags up on the bags. I've got some old mail, some old letters, some found photographs, old envelopes, and I've just kind of made kind of the same concept as the Camp Wonder book. I've just kind of started making pockets and pages and just really having a lot of fun with putting this together. So some of it doesn't make any sense. Like this is actually a page out of my Camp Wonder altered book that I've kept, and I just thought this little picture at the bottom here, it's the tortoise and the hare, and I just thought it'd be funny if they're on their way to go to tea time. Like it's fun to make up little tiny stories for all these little vignettes, these little clusters. So like here's a photo. This is actually a relation of mine in some way. I found it in a letter that was to my great aunt. I don't really know who this little girl is, but it said in the letter that she was opening presents from her birthday. And so I just thought, oh, how joyful is that? So I used that title. I flipped the letter upside down so that the writing isn't a distraction. Like you're not trying to read it. It's just there as kind of a background. And this is an old envelope from a piece of mail to my great aunt. I just think it's so cool because it's got these old, what is this called? A postmark. So that's cool. And then just using up some ephemera and just bits from my stash. I've got this label maker, one of these Dymo label makers. I got this at Target. This is actually not vintage or anything. I just got it at Target. I don't know, maybe 15 bucks. I can't even remember, but that's fun to play with. I don't put that kind of stuff in my regular scrapbooking, so it's just really fun to have a place for these things to live. And to just play. So here's a little glassine bag that has listing prompts. So my intention is to go back and do some listing in this book and just random stuff, just super duper random. I love it. I love it. So I'm really into this junk journal thing. This is just a cover, the back, front and back cover I just made myself with some old chipboard, did some paper on it, and really went to town and had fun. So junk journaling can really be whatever you want. You can use any sort of thing from your stash. You don't really have to go out and buy anything new, but it is fun to use found stuff. So let me talk a little bit about what I found and what I'm using. So let me set this aside. So here I have a couple of super old magazines. I picked these up in an antique store, which until recently, antique stores, I had zero interest to go into those. To me, it's just overwhelming. There's just too much stuff to look at. But when you have something you can drill down on and have a specific thing you're looking for, antique stores can actually turn into a really cool place to go. So for me, now that I have this idea I want to drill in on, which is things like old books, old magazines, old photographs, postcards, I have something I'm kind of trying to find, and it makes it so everything else kind of fades away and blurs out, and I'm really honing in on specific things. So I found a stack of these old magazines. I think I paid like $2 or $3 for this one. So this one's 1947 or 48. This was 1948. And so there's just a lot of old stuff in here that's kind of cool and interesting. It really, you kind of get caught up in looking at all this stuff, truthfully. So there's that, and here's another old magazine. It's just so cool to see like really old ads, and it's just hilarious, quite honestly. It's really, really funny. But like, how cool is this page to just maybe go in and cut out some of these drawings would be really fun. And you know, that's not really my typical thing I do. I mean, look at that, that's hilarious. I don't typically do that kind of stuff in my normal like project life or traveler's notebook stuff, so this is super fun to be able to play with. So old magazines, as I said, photos, old photos. So I pulled a few photos out of that box. I actually went back to the same antique store and pulled out more. And I just, when I was going through them, I just kind of was, if I could come up with a quick story off the top of my head of what I would be maybe doing with these, I swooped them up. So here's another one of the ladies. They look like they're all enjoying some sort of little cordial. I don't know where they're at, but they're having a good time. You know, here's some ladies on a girls' weekend. Here's a cute couple that are, you know, caught in that moment of sharing a special moment. Here's another group of ladies. Actually, it's that same lady from my other book, like the twins. So kind of wonder what happened there. Like, was that a family estate sale and they just said, here's a box of photos, you have at them? That kind of cracks me up, actually. Here's an old photo that could be best friends that live next to each other, or it could be sisters. It's just be fun to tell a little story about this. So like here it says that this is Janet Robinson from 1946. You know, just all of that kind of neat stuff. Like here, this on the back says Hattie. So, you know, now I have maybe some names. June 26, 1949 at Jill Tilly's in Aitken. Oh, see? Now I know where that actually is. So anyway, that is really cool. Here's another random thing I found, an old Viewmaster. So that's cool. This is cool for two reasons. I could use this and I could use this. They don't have to live together, so that's kind of neat. And then I'll talk about these in a second. Here's an old sewing, or actually this is it's an iron-on transfers, but it's old paper. It's cool. It's got so many different aspects that are really neat. And then it's got old paper inside. So that's kind of fun. I like that. It's an envelope, so that could be something. This one's going to be hard. I don't know that I'm going to be able to destroy this because it's so cool. But I could scan it and reprint pages for things. But this is an old hymnal. So it's so neat to see these old pages in here, and it's got like old vintage fallen apart tape, and it just old handwriting inside. It's just so cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a romantic and I love old nostalgic vintage things, pieces of our history that I can physically hold. I picked up a few of these little books. This one could end up being an altered book, and then the photos inside could end up into other projects. But I mean, come on, how cute is this? So this would be a fun little project, especially since this binding could easily be pulled apart and made a little wider. So I could see that being a fun project. This is just, I just grabbed this because I had this when I was little. In a normal world, would I have paid $2 for this? probably not. But when you get caught up in an antique store and you especially see something from your childhood, you're like, yeah, I'm all over this. But again, here is another really cool little old book. Not quite as old, but again, this was from my childhood. I kind of felt like I had to have it. And it's got so many really interesting, pretty little graphics. So cool things can be done with that. Here's an old Campfire Girls book. I actually picked this up at Half Price Books. Again, kind of neat. It's got some old handwriting in it. And this could be a really fun altered book. This is a great book if you were doing something about camping or outdoors, or I mean, this would have been a great option for my Camp Wonder book. And then I found another one of these basic readers. I found another one. So I decided to pick it up. And I've seen these online, so I know I can get more, but I just kind of couldn't resist myself. I just wanted to have it because it was sitting there. And I really wanted to support this antique store that's in my area. So I was happy to spend a little more than I probably would have had I been going online trying to find something super thrifty. So I have that. And then I picked a couple of these up. This was a suggestion when I was doing Camp Reset by Corey Speaker. She had gotten a couple of these golden guides, and I thought, okay, well, you know what? I kind of love that. Love birds. I love nature, outdoors. If you've checked out any of my Weeds and Wildflowers the tag book I'm still kind of working on, I thought these books would be an excellent use for that. So trees. And then I picked up another one of these. This one's pretty old, black and white, and I just like the typeface, if that's the right word. Actually, it's got color, so that's kind of cool. But I mean, this is so cool right here. Just this, it'd be kind of hard to actually cover that because it's so neat, but you get the point. You get the point. Okay, so cool old books. Then I have this little bundle here. My great aunt, who I believe is 93, 94, she's in her early 90s, mid 90s, however you would say it. She had given, I believe, my grandmother a big old box of recipe cards, old letters, all kinds of stuff. I tucked it away. She gave this to me probably a year or two ago, and I tucked it away because I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm very glad I never threw it in the garbage. Well, one, I felt like that was disrespectful. I couldn't bring myself to do it, but now I have a project for it. So I sat down one day, and I mean, as you can see, there's a lot here. There was a lot more, but I went through and I pulled out all these letters. I had a lot of fun reading through some of them. Some of them were just too hard to read, but like 1973, 84. I mean, some of them from some of my other, there was another aunt here. They were even further back. And so it was kind of interesting. I don't really know some of the people that are being spoken about in these letters, so I don't feel as bad about using them. And also most of the time it was about, it was like 73. Okay, so it was like my great aunt, I think is who it would be, was writing, and it would be a lot about like the weather, who's sick, who's not sick anymore, who moved, who they haven't heard from in the family. So it was kind of entertaining. And in all honesty, none of it seemed important enough to feel like we have to memorialize it. But I just think, how cool would it be to know that something like this, and I'm gone long from now, although everything will be probably chips in our heads by then. I don't know. I just try to imagine like how cool it would be as a family member to know somebody took something like this and did something new with it. So that's why I kept all of these. And so as you saw in my junk journal, which of course I threw onto my floor, that is where this letter came from here. So this is one of these letters. So my I believe great aunt wrote these letters. This one fell apart, but they were like folded in half. Just super strange. Not strange, I should say, just interesting that they were like the way she wrote these. And the paper just feels cool and old stationery. So that was neat. If I found this in an antique store, would I buy a bundle of old letters? You bet I would. So that's pretty cool. So I kept the ones that I thought were interesting. The handwriting was interesting, or the paper was interesting. Like here's another cute little note that's got a little stationery. So I thought that was interesting. Let's set this aside here. Little tiny like handwritten cards with graphics. I think that's cool. More of those. So I pulled all those out. And then the envelopes that they were in, I kept a lot of those as well, because it's just kind of cool to see the old the postage and the postmark, and then just kind of, I don't know, just to see what mail looked like. Like, here's something cool. I remember having these when I was a kid, actually. They were just letters you could fold up and mail. So I have a lot of those. And then what's really special to me is that a couple of these are actually from my grandmother to her sister. So my great aunt, this would have been my grandmother's sister. So now I have also, and my grandmother's still living, so, and she's, you know, pretty young still. She's only 80. So it's just cool that now I have some of her handwriting and some of her things that she sent to my aunt. And the letters are really cool to have too, because you know, she talks about what they were doing in their life at the time. And so that's really special to me. So I'm excited to have these things. And I know that my grandmother is going to be pretty pumped, actually, to see that I'm using this stuff in my creative world. So that'll be really fun to have. So I have that. And then, oh, I'm getting kind of all over the place, aren't I? What's new? Postcards, recipe cards. I also went through and pulled out all these old recipe cards that she had written on, and they're patinaed and stained and scribbled on, and some of them are typed, some of them are handwritten, some of them are quite interesting. I kind of kept a few because it's just funny to me, but these are going to be really fun little additions to add into my junk journal as well. So real quick, I'll also just kind of note a few other little items. This is my little catch-all for my junk journaling. I just got it all in this big bin. The other thing I did, I know I thought I said I was going to be done with this video, but here I go, continuing on, is I went through, I don't know why I even kept this, but I had a big stack of like old maps and things from traveling and hotels and who knows what. And for whatever reason, when I was getting this Birchbox, I kept this, but I just think, okay, wait a minute. Now I can cut this down and it makes a really cool little photo. So I've added a few of these to my junk journal. Memorabilia from just different times with friends, like state fair, camping, and then this is super cool. My other grandmother, who passed away a few years ago, I inherited a bunch of her old cookbooks. And I went through them, and she would laugh at me if she was still alive, because she'd be like, are you kidding me? You went through all that old junk? But I did, because what I ended up pulling out of these old cookbooks, get this out of the way here, were really interesting old, just random bits of paper. And to somebody else, they might not have any idea what this means, but I kind of have a little bit of an idea, because my grandmother loved to do crossword puzzles. She liked to play games with family. So it's kind of interesting that I have a few things that I know that's what they are. She owned a restaurant in the, I want to say 60s, 70s. And so like this is the local bakery that would bring some of the bread. And so it's kind of just fascinating. Like 1973. Got all these prices for this bakery that she was getting, that was supplying some of the bread to her restaurant. Like here's just a piece of paper my grandmother wrote on, where she was trying to figure out some crossword. She was playing a game against her youngest, and so I just love this. Some of her recipes, random old receipt, gas check. I mean, just, I don't know. I think this stuff is just really cool and interesting and kind of a riot. And the fact that she used all of these literally were all her bookmarks in her cookbooks. So just every time I'd flip through it, I'd kind of hold the book and shake it and see what fell out. So it was really, really cool. But now I have all of these extra little pieces of detritus with her handwriting and apparently an old bill. So just really, really fun, interesting things that I can now use into my creativity and my journals and carry on another piece of my my family. And like even this, my grandmother always had these yellow napkins, and she used one as a bookmark. And I'd forgotten about the yellow napkins that was always at grandma's, and now I have one, and I kind of feel like I got to do something special with it. So junk mail, old envelopes, all of this stuff is super fun. You don't need to go out and buy anything. You don't need to go out and, I mean, other than antiques if you want to do that, but there's so many cool things you can find that would just be really fun to incorporate into a junk journal. And a junk journal doesn't have to be all antiqued, patinaed, old kind of looking stuff. Like, I feel like if you do a search and you try to find junk journal stuff, and maybe I'm just not good at keywords and searching, I feel like you're going to find a whole lot of that kind of stuff. But as you can see, make it your own. Have fun with it. Add color, add brightness. Like, here's one of those cards I was talking about. I just cut it down. Like, here's the Birchbox label or logo. Will I cover it up? Probably not. So I hope that you have found this to be inspiring, and I hope you'll give it a try. If nothing else, maybe you'll start looking at things a little bit differently and trying to figure out if you could possibly use some junk mail in your scrapbooking. Because even in your project life or your traveler's notebook or your Bible journaling or whatever it is that you enjoy doing, if you just kind of think outside of the box and think and look around you and see what you can use, that might be a bit more interesting and creative than just having to have everything from maybe a particular collection. I think you'll really enjoy it. I know I certainly have. So thanks again, friends, for sticking around and watching my video. If you liked what you saw today, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. And then finally, don't forget to hit that little bell so you're getting notified when new videos are posted. Thanks, friends. I'll see you next time.